Hello, once again, welcome to another edition of the I'm Always Right Sports Podcast. I'm your host, as always, the Mouth of Michigan, Ron Medika. With me, as always, my co-host, the Merc Zone, Mike Merkel.
Yes.
Later in the show, we'll be joined by the man, Kyle Budzanowski. But, Mike, we have so much to go over this week. It is the debut of the Wednesday Night Wars in the world of professional wrestling. AEW Dynamite had its first show on Wednesday. NXT was live for the full 2 hours on USA. They went head-to-head. The first time anything like this has happened in a few years. TNA tried to do it a little bit on Monday nights. That was an epic disaster. But this is the first time where we've seen another major company go head-to-head with some sort of WWE product, which is huge news. WWE had a lot of programming this week. The debut of SmackDown on Fox, which drew great numbers for them, regardless of what actually happened on the show. We're not going to get too much into that. If you want to see what happened on that show, you can go look it up. Later on in the second half of the show, we'll be joined by Kyle, like I said, and we'll be talking some Lions, the status of the Lions as they're on the bye week this week. We're going to check in around the rest of the NFC North to see what kind of matchups, what kind of competition the Lions have going forward, as they don't have a divisional game yet. So after the bye, they play Monday night against the Packers. And then we're also going to talk at the end of the show Michigan's victory over Iowa, which some people may or may not consider an upset. And we're also going to talk Michigan State and how they gave it their best effort against Ohio State. All that great stuff coming up at you. So, Mike, let's just jump right into it. Wednesday Night Wars are in effect. Just give me your overall impressions. Let's talk about AEW first. Overall impressions with AEW's first show.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it first, then watched them together.
Right.
I have two TVs, so I watch a lot of sports.
She's that devoted to the cause, folks.
Yes.
Got two TVs.
So I watched them both at the same time, but I only had the audio for AEW going while I was going.
Yeah.
But I wanted to also know results that were happening for NXT Live.
Right.
So that was the main cause for that. I didn't watch it after. But AEW I thought was done very well. Mm-hmm. You had a lot of very good matches, and then you had a lot of here are these guys, we're going to start building these guys kind of up a little bit too.
Right.
You had a little bit of everything, and it was overall, I think, a pretty good first show.
Yeah, I would say so too. I think they did a nice job. They featured some people. I thought the in-ring content was good. I thought that they did a nice job of setting a foundation with, and we're not gonna withhold spoilers here, folks. It's been 4 or 5 days now. You can go watch the show. Yeah. With the setting up of the heel stable with Jack Swagger or Jake Hager, whatever they're going to call him there. And you've got LAX obviously there along with Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho. I think having a heel stable be developed so quickly is important because that way you have something that, you have a nucleus of people to build around. They're going to feud with the Elite and Cody and all that stuff. It really breeds that kind of thought into it. Yeah. I like the fact that they furthered the story with Dean and Kenny. I don't like the way they did it, and we'll get to that in a second. I like the Pac Adam Page match. I thought they are really building Pac to a point to where he is setting himself up. So once Jericho's kind of done with his major heel run here and he kind of starts becoming more of a part-time player, I think Pac is going to be a guy they're really going to want to build around as that guy that's just a complete a-hole, you know what I mean, to kind of have people, go after and, kind of set that up. What about it? So give me some positives that you saw from the show, whether it's production or anything else, and maybe some negatives, because a lot of people online, I think, you're kind of getting this two sides of this coin where it's either people, no matter what they do, AEW, everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's a great show ever. Oh my gosh, it's the best thing ever because it's not WWE. But then you've also got the subset of fans that go, all right, calm it down, right? I didn't think it was that great. You know what I mean? So you have both of those sides on two ends of the spectrum. So give me some positives and some negatives that you thought, because I know we talked about it before, that it wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect.
I mean, and that's the problem with the TV shows. It's you can't have...
No, of course.
I guess to you it could be perfect, but there's never a perfect episode of anything, really, for the most part.
Yeah, of course.
I thought some positives you could take away was you do have that big fight feel when guys come out with their entrances and you have their record next to them.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think that's a nice little, if you're going to make it a league and you're going to make wins and losses matter, almost reminding people, say if...
Right, yeah. Say he's not a 3-match losing streak.
Say, Kyle goes in for this first time, he goes, I don't know these people, but you see this guy's 7-0, you're like, oh, this guy's a legit guy.
Right,
because he hasn't lost.
Yeah, he's 7-0, he must be okay.
Yeah, so he must be pretty good at this, while some guy who comes out is 1-3-1, you're like, well,
what is that?
Yeah, he's not doing very well right now. Like, so I think for even a casual stance going in, you can go, you can just look at it and
follow it and go, okay, you're better than this guy.
Yeah,
you have a better record. That's an upset. Yeah, that's an upset if the 1-3 guy beats the 7-0 guy.
And that's stuff I like. They're making the championships feel like it really means something with the record-wise. Like, Cody's getting this match because he has 4 wins or whatever it is.
Exactly.
And if Sammy Guevara wins, it's like he's the number 1 contender. Sammy's right under, so he could jump above him if he beats Cody or whatever. So there's a lot of good storylines in there. Like I said, production looked pretty good. The show, it doesn't look like a Ring of Honor TV show or anything. But it does look like a WWE style show. So those are my positives I took away. Yeah. But I do have... maybe even more negatives.
Well, I mean, let's go with it, right? I mean, we've kind of already said, good in-ring action, right? But on the whole, the show, well, give me some negative, maybe some drawbacks. Negative may be too harsh for word, but give me some drawbacks that people maybe need to start thinking about a little bit.
Yeah, so I would say a couple of negatives I had is, and I had this problem with Raw and SmackDown, and a little bit with NXT, but not as much, is their TV show now looks just like their pay-per-views do.
Right. So as of right now.
Yeah, as of the second.
Right.
Now, obviously, you go into full gear, and they have gigantic gears all around. Right. And you come out to a gear setting thing.
Yeah, that's different.
Then it looks different and it looks bigger. But, like, besides WrestleMania and Royal Rumble maybe this year, I guess you could argue, every set is the exact same as the Raw and SmackDown set.
Right.
So far, the AEW Dynamite set has been the same as All Out and Double or Nothing. Right. So if I just put on one of those shows, you couldn't tell me which one's which. When you should be able to go, yeah, that's All Out. Yeah. But it doesn't. It doesn't look like All Out. It looks like AEW Dynamite.
Exactly.
So I think that's one big takeaway. And also, I would say, besides the opening match, and that was like their big match, I thought the middle part of the show was confusing and didn't do stuff right. Like, you went from segment to segment to segment to segment, and none of it really made...
Yeah, I felt like you were trying to push as much talent on TV as possible to say, here's all the people...
everybody you need.
Here's a whole bunch of people you need to know who they are right away. Yeah. Right? And not realizing that if you've been watching, their other shows, like, that's a small subset of who they have. Yeah. So I agree with you on that. I think one of the negatives... I agree with some of your positives. One of the negatives I had... and where I was a little confused is the last match, right? Where, as we mentioned, Kenny and Dean's, or I guess John Moxley's, I gotta stop calling him Ambrose. Their feud, right, has been going for a while, but you saw Kenny in the match for about 30 seconds. Yeah. And then he came out, and then Moxley attacked Kenny. Ref's still there, everything's fine. Yeah. No DQ. So, as a fan, unless you're going to tell me that it's a no disqualification, very confused. Yeah. It wasn't explained. They just kind of went and did their thing. And I also think that Moxley should have came in later. So, as a casual fan, and we put ourselves in Kyle's shoes, right? Kyle's shoes would have been, all right, he just attacked him. I don't know why, but... I don't know who this Kenny guy is, so why is he attacking Kenny, right? Like, what makes him so special, right? If we would have seen a little bit more out of Kenny, just to kind of get that feel of, like, okay, he's a pretty cool dude.
I will not argue against that, but I will say earlier in the show they did have the Kenny Omega hype package for John Moxley. Right. So you kind of have an understanding of it, but if you didn't watch the pay-per-views or anything, you wouldn't get it. Right. But you also, I would agree with that. Also, they have said before, and we've seen it in matches on Double or Nothing and All Out, where guys will just interfere. Yeah. And their idea is to make it a big, like a sports atmosphere. Right. So they don't want to DQ people if they don't have to. It's kind of what New Japan does. It's like people just kind of put people through tables all the time, and you're just kind of like,
okay.
Like DQ or not, and it's not DQ because you want the win loss.
And I know the rules are bending, and I get that, right? But if that was the case, then the commentary needs to really push that point
They
home,
do, yes.
Because then, as a casual fan, I've been watching wrestling for literally my entire life, so I'm like, all right, like, I get why you don't call it, but at the same time, like, there's got to be a line. There's no point, if there's no rules, then heels can't get heat. That's just straight up, that's a fact. The other thing I did not like the women's title match at all. I thought that Nyla Rose is not ready for that kind of spot. I thought there was several missed spots, and it felt like even at the end there was a pop for when the match ended. It didn't feel big enough for me. Maybe it's because these two that they put in that spot aren't super big names in America. You know what I mean? But I felt like that moment, considering how much of an emphasis they are going to try to put on the women's division, and rightfully so, I felt like that moment should have been bigger, right? Like, it was in the middle of the card, right? It was just kind of there. The match was okay at best, but nothing, you know what I mean? It didn't make me go, that was awesome. Right? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they tried to put an emphasis on it, but it felt, once again, like you just put it there like, oh, by the way, you have a women's title match. Like, I guarantee you, when the tag title tournament's done, guess it's the main event of that show. The tag team championship match, right? And I'm not saying that it should have been the main event, but what I am saying is semi-main behind the six-man tag, that's where it should have been. If it was supposed to feel like it, then that's where it should have been.
I will say I get why it's not the main event because of what transpired.
Right.
You want the ending
hindsight 2020, absolutely.
Like, as the show's going on, you go, that's kind of dumb that it's not the main event, but then you have this big reveal at the end and stuff. I get why it's last.
Like I said, I was good with it being second to last.
Yes.
Right? I would have been totally okay with it being second to last. You start out really hot with Cody and Sammy. You kind of go in, you push some guys out there, whatever. And that way, it would have felt like to me, like, okay, it's a double main event card, right? Yeah. We're crowning our first women's champion, and then after that, we've got the biggest six-man tag you could ever ask for. We got the Elite and Kenny, right, or the Bucks and Kenny, whatever you want to call them, and you've got Jericho and LAX. You know what I mean? One big positive I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to though is LAX and the Bucks. That's money. That tag team combination right there, that is money, my friends.
I think there's a lot.
My goodness.
I think there's a lot of just in the tag team division itself.
Yes, absolutely.
You have like the 8 people in the tournament going just against each other. For the next year and a half, you have money in the tag team division.
Absolutely.
Like, you can go LAX versus all 7, Pentagon and Phoenix and all of them. The Bucks against, you have just like money making matches.
Did you see the new tag belts?
Yeah, I did.
What do you like them?
Not really.
Neither do I. I was kind of disappointed. I like the heavyweight title. I love the women's title. I think it fits the.
I don't know. I feel like the tag title doesn't fit.
No, it doesn't fit anything. Like, it's like because the world title's so gaudy, and then tag title was like, here, by the way, here you go. Like, I'm side note, but I was just like,
it's okay.
It's okay. People are like, oh, I like the classic design. I'm like, classic design. I'm like, that's not.
Like, I watch the video, guys.
Yeah.
I take this. Older
the classic world tag title that we have here in the case. Yeah, like that. I would have wished they would have went something.
Yeah, if you went like this. I'd take something like this. Even like an NXT tag.
I like the Ring of Honor tags that they used to have. You know, something. I don't know. I just felt kind of like
that would be perfect in like a tag format.
Which one? This one? Well, that's why I like the. That's what the TNA tag belts kind of look like.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right, those look really
nice. Watch the video feed because we're just pointing now.
Yeah, exactly.
So
for sure. If you guys haven't watched our YouTube channel, which first off, what are you doing? But go and subscribe. But yeah, in our studio here, as our YouTube viewers know, we've got these belt cases with all different promotions, belts, and everything like that. And the Ring of Honor, our old television title, synonymous with guys like Bobby Fish, Adam Cole, Matt Taven. It's kind of similar to the TNA tag titles, which I think look really nice.
Yeah, so I thought that's the design they were going to go for.
Yeah,
it just kind of looked like...
Blah. Yeah, I thought they were going to be super cool because the Bucks are the tag team division. I thought, all right, this is going to be sweet. All right, let's shift now to NXT. Give me your pros and cons on that show. We're not going to go down the whole list of everything that happened, but just give me, what did you like, what didn't you like from the NXT show?
I love that they opened... I know, and you're trying to get people away from AEW, obviously. So you opened with the world title match between Cole and Riddle. Yep. It was probably my either favorite or second favorite match on either show. I really like Cody and Sammy, but that was like not worth. I think the NXT, because it was the title match, it ups it ups it 1 or 2 points and makes it better. Yeah. But I don't know if I liked it more. Like if Sammy and we're going for like a TV and AEW TV title or something, that may have been my favorite match. But since it was just a one-on-one, one-off kind of thing, I'd probably Cole and Riddle probably the best on both shows. Yeah. And then the last match, the tag title match, I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm getting a tiny bit annoyed that every single match Undisputed Era is in is ending with like Roddy and Cole coming out to end the match. Right. That's just kind of, and I know it's gonna be a thing because like their thing right now is we want to hold the titles forever, so they're gonna do whatever it takes. So they're all gonna start coming out every single match. Right. But it's just kind of like, and I don't know if you're feeling it, but like I'm just like, can we just have one match where
they just win?
Where they just win and they're fine?
And that's the problem is that, and we talked about this at WrestleMania time when Gargano beat Cole.
Yeah.
Is you had the whole era run in and Gargano still won. You can't do that because now you make the rest of those guys look more insignificant because he just overcame a 4-on-1. Yeah. So I agree with you.
I get like you can't like as a tag team like Montez Ford can't overcome Roddy coming in and then beating him.
Right.
The story makes sense.
I get that.
I'm just like, can we just have like a tag team match where the tag team wins without the interference? I know you're the heel, whatever.
You can still be a heel and not have interference though. You could easily he hits low blow and rolls out of the ring and then you hit your whatever. I agree with you.
I'm just like if that's a continuous cycle, like in the next match of like Roddy versus Velveteen, and then they interfere again, and
Kyle's gonna come down.
I'm just like, can we just like have a good match?
Let's just have a good finish.
That's my own. That's a big pet peeve for that part, but the match itself was really good.
Yeah.
And I thought in the middle, the both women's matches didn't really click for me either. Mm-hmm. I think the Candice LeRae Shayna Baszler match was like good, not anything super special.
Great. I would agree with that.
And I think the
Io Shirai that was good.
I was like half paying attention to it also probably, so I didn't get the full effect of it.
And you're hurting, right? Because you start out so hot. Okay, you got Cole Riddle, and then you got to go down at some point.
I just thought the match was a little too long.
Yes.
And it was just also I kind of like it's almost like I don't want them to leave Full Sail, but I think they almost need to leave Full Sail if you're really going to try to do this whole compete against AEW.
Right,
and I heard in the next month, spoilers, maybe they do leave and they start doing like an actual trip every week to go places. Yeah. But like when you look at the AEW feeling they're in like a Joe Louis Arena or Washington, like in a big stadium kind of feel, and then like AEW's in like. Or I mean, NXT's in this little like 1,000-seat arena thing. You're like, well, it doesn't feel the same.
Right.
So it's not as
no doubt, for sure. So I agree with you. I think Cole, and we talked about this before. Cole Riddle for me was the best match of the night. I thought they did tremendous work. I do agree with you that with the title being on the line, it adds a little bit more oomph to it. But I just thought overall, I think that if you are a new fan and you are tuning into both of these shows and going, hey, what the hell's going on here? That match would have got you sucked in, you know what I mean, to a point where I'd been like, holy crap, the false finishes, I thought they did a nice job where Riddle didn't die, you know what I mean? Cole wins clean, kind of, with like the cast hit and everything. I was really happy with that. Finn Balor's back on NXT. Ciampa is back, right? So you've got some stuff. And I liked the fact, right, I think the women's match, the women's title match, I thought NXT won that battle.
It did, but I don't think by a lot.
Not by a lot, absolutely. But I do think that NXT won the women's battle, and if we're going to say that, right, in that title match versus title match, I thought Shayna versus Candice was much, much better than that. Overall, impact-wise, you're probably almost measuring out the same, but I thought watching each match, I was more entertained with the Shayna match than I was with the AEW title match. But which show did you think went, regardless of ratings? And I want to take a second here to talk about this. If you're an AEW fan, awesome. But just because AEW won the ratings war, quote unquote, this first week, if anybody really didn't expect AEW to win this, what are you doing? Like, if AEW didn't win on their debut show, like, then AEW's dead already. Like, before it even starts. Like, so I get the excitement, and I know some of the wrestlers and everything are telling like, oh man, we beat them. See, told you they can't hang. It's week one. Yeah. Like, let's calm it down a little bit. Like, let's be realistic here. Nitro won week 1 too. It's okay. Like, you know what I mean? And there was a war there for a while. It's not. So let's temper those. And I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this, but let's temper those expectations a little bit. Like, oh, see, AEW's better product. See, they won week 1. Look at everything AEW NXT did. They put all their best stuff out there, which they did for the most part. Yeah. But AEW could have sat there and had a talk show for a half hour, and everybody still would have watched because they're like, what's going to happen? You know what I mean? So, what show did you like better?
I enjoyed AEW more.
Yeah.
But NXT wasn't. There's just.
I thought they came to play.
Yeah, they came to play. NXT I never got into their TV show.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever honestly will.
Yeah.
I just don't find as much enjoyment in their TV show as their as AEW's TV show, I guess.
Right.
Their 1 week I'm kind of invested.
Yeah.
NXT, I love their takeovers and everything after that. I'm I don't really.
Do you think that if they continuously, if they have, because the NXT show has the reputation right now of being okay, well, all right, we're going to see 1 or 2 matches where I actually care about, and the rest of it's going to be fluff, right? Yeah. But do you think if they continuously put on shows like they did this week, which I thought was a very good show, that you could become invested into it?
You could, absolutely. Yeah. I think there were possible.
They can't regress, and you got a whole bunch of 7 filler matches and 1 big match. You can't do that.
Yeah, right? No, and that's what they did the last 2 weeks before this one, because AEW's on with them. Right. Was like last week they had like filler. Oh, kind of good filler. Velveteen, Roderick Strong, and I was like,
okay, right. I gotta suffer through all this just to get here.
Right, I don't want to watch 2 hours and just get the 1 match I came to see. Yeah. If the cards were more like this every week, I'd be invested. Mm-hmm. I think AEW just kind of benefits because they have an entire roster of new people, like new people, and they're very good on one show. Where like NXT is like a 3rd division of WWE. Right. Like it's like they're splitting their whole roster between like 3 divisions, and this is like their 3rd division. Right. So it's like really tough to...
Right. I would agree with you. I think AEW had an overall better show. Obviously, the excitement and everything around it. I will say this, though. The one thing that I think people need to pay attention to just a little bit, right, is that you make a good point where they're splitting amongst 3 brands, right? But AEW is going to run into a very similar situation that WCW did, where, okay, you got to find time to put Kenny on. You got to find time to put the Bucks on. You got to find time to put these guys... You know what I mean? Yeah. You have a lot... Your roster right now is very top-heavy. So because of that, similar to WCW, you got to find time to get Hogan on. Savage has got to be on here. Where's Sting going to be? Where's Luger? You know what I mean? So that is something that to keep an eye on going forward is where do all these big stars go? Even if Jericho's not there every week, right? Okay, that's one guy that you can plug and play. Okay, where are you going to put Cody? Jake Hager, he's a big star now, right? Yeah. He's part of that heel factor. Where are you going to put those guys, right? Mm-hmm. You know, where are you going to put Jimmy Havoc? He's not even been on the show yet. Where are you going to put Joe? Like, there's a lot of guys that people are like, no, I want to see this guy, right? And you only got 2 hours. You know what I mean? And WWE at least has the ability to go, don't worry, you'll see him wherever, right? You've got more time to fill, right? So you can spread that out so you don't get overrun with the same people. That's just something to kind of keep an eye on.
I do think AEW is going to get boring, but it's only because I see potential of long-term story booking here.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Like the Adam Page losing. Yeah, I think he's gonna have this whole he's gonna lose a lot, and then come there next. He's gonna come a whole turn to win the championship in 8 months or something. Yep. But it's gonna be a slow build to get there because you have so much. You're gonna have Jericho, Cody, Jericho, Kenny, Jericho. Pac's gonna win, Pac this guy, and all of a sudden, then Adam Page is gonna shoot up there and then challenge and win it. It's gonna be an awesome moment or whatever. Absolutely. But it's gonna be in 10 months.
Absolutely.
So it's almost like you have to sit and wait. Right. And I think AEW or NXT is gonna go, no, we're gonna just give you Cole Riddle now, and we're not gonna wait 3 months to give it to you. Mm-hmm. While when you really want to see Kenny get his shot, it's going to be in 4 months. It's not going to be right away.
Yeah, you never know, right? Obviously they're trying to load the deck in NXT. Balor's back, Ciampa's back. You got some stuff that you can really spread out here. So it's going to be.
I will say my favorite segment though was when Ciampa came out and just how much the belt means in that rivalry they're about to have. Just makes you so happy because didn't even look at doesn't even care about gold. He goes, all I want is that, and I'm just yes, exactly. That's all you ever want.
Absolutely great take. Obviously, we're going to be monitoring it as the weeks go on. We're not going to give you a breakdown every single week because that's just way too much time and. There's
a short breakdown, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, but we're not gonna go into as much detail as we did, obviously, this week, taking the whole first half of the show. All right, after the break, the man Kyle Budzinowski will be joining us. We're gonna talk Lions, we're gonna talk NFC North, and we're gonna talk Michigan State. All great content after the break. Stick around. And welcome back to part 2 of episode 45. The man, Kyle Budzinowski, joins us. He's living the high life off of that big Michigan hood, which we'll talk about in a second. But let's talk some Lions guys. They're on the bye this week. 2-1-1. We talked about how we would kind of feel if they'd lost to Kansas City, which unfortunately they did. But the way that it happened, right, I don't think a lot of people expected. So Kyle, I'm going to start with you. How are you feeling about your Detroit football Lions? After what? 4 weeks, right? 4 weeks? 4 weeks? Yeah, 4 weeks. 2-1-1, setting yourself up really well. Had a nice showing against Kansas City. Had chances to win that football game. And you're going to go into Monday night next week against the Packers. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty damn good right now.
Well,
He's gonna be like super duper.
We don't swear on this show.
I know, jeez, keep it clean. Keep it clean. Anyway, all right, you're feeling good. Why are you feeling good about it?
I'm feeling pretty good because with the expectation level that they had this season, it wasn't the highest, and then how they played. Even though 2-1-1 doesn't sound like it's like you have a good team or at least a decent team, but like they've been playing pretty good except for like second half Arizona. But ever since then, it's been constant good play. The Chiefs game, great game to watch. There's chances they should have won, but it's still the Chiefs. It's still like we lost that, but the way we lost, it wasn't terrible. We almost beat a good team.
Right, yeah, for sure. And I think that, there's obviously no moral victories, right? A loss is a loss. However, I think you were able to set up the fact that not only are you able to play with anybody, because I don't like that, that ideology. You're in the NFL, right? Every team should be able to compete with anybody, theoretically. But they should be. Should be. You know what I mean? But I will say that the way they played, right? The gutsy performances they had. Stafford had 3 touchdowns on a broken hip, or at least it looked like it. You had some guys go out. Slay not playing. Diggs went out early. Hawkinson went out late. They had a lot of big pieces, and yet they still put themselves in position to win the football game, which is important. Mike, how you feeling about your Detroit Lions after their 2-1-1 start going into Green Bay this upcoming week?
I feel confident, but quite nervous at the same time.
You don't want to get your hopes too high because they're just going to rip your heart out and destroy you like they always do.
Wow, that was deep.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I got my own feels for a second.
That's a little deep, but like kind of.
Yeah.
I'm just like, from the stuff we've seen, there are a lot of positives that come out, and then there are also a lot of negatives that come out. And I'm just worried that when we hit stuff like Green Bay, stuff like Chicago and stuff, like some of the offensive mistakes, like the fumbles and stuff we've had against Kansas City and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, the Chicago defense is like so good that they take those back for scores.
Right.
Like the Chiefs did, but like they're so fast and agile and everything. Like the Chiefs defense is like,
right.
So there's stuff that's good, stuff that's bad. I'm a little nervous going into Green Bay. You got Rodgers there. Their defense looks very good from what we've been seeing so far in the last 5 weeks ish.
Yeah.
So I'm confident but nervous.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that what you're set yourself up to do, and what's exciting but also scary, right, is the fact that this was the quote-unquote, like, the gamut, right? You can run everything, right? Outside of Arizona, okay, you got the Chargers, you got Philly, you got the Chiefs, right? Those back-to-back-to-back games, right, going into your bye, and then going into Green Bay after the bye, this is the hard part of your schedule, at least on paper, right? So the fact that you're sitting where you're at, you set yourself up to where, okay, they can control their own destiny a little bit here if they just take care of business, right? They look like they can beat Minnesota. They look like they can beat the Bears. They look like they can beat Green Bay. They look like they have an opportunity to do something here that us here in Detroit haven't seen in a long time. But on the other side of that, we've seen this story before, and we've seen them do really nice work in September just to blow it in October and November, where December doesn't mean anything. So I agree with you 100% that we're now at a point where it's like, okay, if you're legit, and this is to all Detroit Lions fans, and this is to the team itself, if you think you're legit, then you need to beat Green Bay in Green Bay. There's no other excuse. I don't care what happens. I don't care if there's a ref call. If you think you're the team you're supposed to be, a team that's supposed to be competing for this division and have a chance to win a playoff game this year, you need to go into Green Bay off of your bye week into Monday night and go win the football game. You got 2 weeks. They play Dallas this week. I don't know how that game's going to go. Regardless, you have an opportunity to make a statement and say, yep, we can beat Green Bay in the harshest of conditions, right? The most riled crowds, and we go in there and beat them. That's what they need to do. You know what I mean? So while we're talking about the NFC North, though, let's check in with each team. Let's start with Green Bay. They're 3-1 right now, coming off a loss to Philadelphia before their game. We're recording this before they play against Dallas, so they're in first place in the division. Defense looks a lot better on the whole than they have in years past. Rodgers and the offense looks good. I'm not going to say they look great, but they look good. Thoughts on what you're seeing out of the Packers so far, Mike?
It's very, and I think someone listening to 97.1 a decent amount recently, they said this in a very weird way, where it was, they do the first about 15 to 20 scripted plays super well, and once they get out of that, it's kind of like they don't know what they're doing. I totally agree with that because when you look at the Packers game, Vikings game, and even the Broncos game to a certain extent, and then they lost to the Eagles. But like they went out 21-0 against the Vikings, and what did they do after?
Right, that's a great observation.
Chicago, they had the one deep play within the first 12 plays of the game on offense. What did they do after? They scored 10 total points.
Right.
Even
the Philly game,
they
ball,
and they moved the ball in the first quarter and a half, and after that, it's stagnant at 27-20 through a quarter and a half in the second half until Philly scores to win the game.
Right.
So like you look and you go, if the Lions can come out early and run their game plan very early, which they have been doing, I think that's how you can beat them, and that's almost like the Packers' Achilles heel is after the first 15 to 20 plays.
What do I do?
What's the adjustment? What's the game plan later on?
Absolutely.
And I think that's where when they play teams like Kansas City, the Chargers, 49ers, Bears again, when they play these teams later on, you go, can they adjust to win? If they don't, 9-7 maybe. You know what I mean?
Kind of falter down. Yeah, that's a great observation. Kyle, what are you seeing out of our Chicago Bears?
Chicago?
Yeah.
Obviously, the defense has been, I don't think they're as good as last year, but their defense has been pretty spectacular so far.
Progression to the mean, obviously.
They've been giving me a lot of fantasy points.
That means they've been doing really good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
But
let's just say score off everything.
Their offense is extremely questionable. I think
it's being nice.
Unlike last year, they won a division last year, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like their offense last year at least got them to where they needed to be, but now you have Trubisky.
What are the odds? They have film out there now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna throw shade at everybody. It's fine.
But I think they'll come in third place in the division this year because their offense is just not where they wanted it to be.
Can you compare them to a team in the Big Ten?
Michigan State. That's a good comparison.
I love it. Good idea. I love it. That's funny.
But I just don't think they just got what it takes at least this year to get them far.
I'm in agreement with you so far, right? Yeah. You look at this team, and you go, okay, what's their Achilles heel? Okay, let's make Trubisky throw the football. Mm-hmm. Honestly, that's really what it is. You can tell. We talked about it even when we saw the Packers, the opening night of the season. They even mentioned it. Man, they're trying to make Trubisky into a pocket passer. He's trying to make himself being a pocket passer, and it just ain't working. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He just doesn't look comfortable. He doesn't look like he's set. He's nervous. He wants to bail, but he's trying to fight that urge to run. So he's trying to make throws. He can't make those throws. There's a lot of questions. He's hurt right now. It's probably better for the Bears, honestly. Lots of question marks for the Chicago Bears, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Mike, let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings, the team that's probably got the most to talk about. What are you seeing out of the Minnesota Vikings? And what are they, 2-2 so far?
They are 2-2.
Yeah.
Up double digits currently on the Giants, but you got Danny Dimes back there. So as we're recording this, we don't know who wins, but we could.
Yeah.
When you look at their schedule, it's tough because you can see that they're like good enough to beat down bad teams, but they're not good enough to beat the good teams.
Yeah.
And you say because
which is weird.
What? Michigan. Yeah, literally. Like I guess we're all the Big Ten here.
Yeah.
Because you got like the Vikings beat the Raiders 34-14. You go, okay, so you beat them by 20 points. That's really good.
Win,
And then you lose to the Packers.
Right.
Okay, but the Falcons, they're supposed to be a good team. They're not very good this year.
Right.
They beat them 28-12. Right. And then you're like, but then they play the Bears and they lose 16-6. Right. So they're like very inconsistent, and the teams that they should beat, they beat.
Right.
But against the good teams, they don't play up against.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I think the two losses obviously early in the division, right? The Lions have a weird schedule because they don't play it. It'll be week 6 before they have a division game. It's crazy.
It's weird because the Packers play their last 3 division games. Like they started their season with like 3, and then they play the whole middle season without playing us.
Right.
And then
back to back. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's very strange.
I think Minnesota's weird because their defense is still very good, right? It's not nearly as good as it was a couple years ago. And when we went into the season last year, everyone thought, man, they're a quarterback away, right? Well, look what Case Keenum did. If we get a quarterback that knows what the hell he's doing, we have a pretty good shot at winning a Super Bowl. So they go pay Kirk Cousins all this money, and Kirk Cousins is having Joey Harrington syndrome back there, and he needs permission to throw the long ball. You know what I mean? So the offense, once again, looking extremely questionable. Dalvin Cook looks phenomenal. But outside of him though, right, what do they have? They've got good receivers on the outside. Diggs, good player. Thielen, good player. You got a good tight end. Irv Smith Jr., Rudolph. But that quarterback, man, gets you every single time. That's why that's always been the difference between Green Bay and Minnesota or Green Bay and Chicago. It's always been, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, who's got the better quarterback, right? It's always been Green Bay. So that's why they've always been able to pull ahead at the end of those times, unless something crazy happens, like Chicago's defense last year, where they were just so much better, and they just couldn't do anything against them. You know what I mean? It's actually kind of crazy that they didn't win more in the postseason, to be honest with you. All right, let's go now. Let's shift now. Stop talking about those teams that we don't care about. Let's talk about our Michigan Wolverines. Pulling off, would you say it's an upset? Over Iowa? Iowa was ranked what? 15? 14? We were ranked 19?
They were technically favored.
Iowa was favored?
No, Michigan was favored.
Michigan was favored?
They were favored by 2.5 because they were at home.
Okay.
It's 2 ranked teams.
Right, yeah. Okay.
But that's not that far apart. They gave them
well, they beat a team that was ranked higher than them, whatever that means. Score at 10-3, obvious barn burner of a day. The defense looking like its old self a little bit. 8 sacks, right, Kyle, on the day. Sack time, as Jim Brandstatter would say. Kyle, what are the impressions of this Michigan team? A big bounce back win after the Wisconsin debacle. What Rutgers, I don't even count as a game. It was a scrimmage. So you're playing a team that's somewhat competent, runs the ball effectively, right? They always maintain ball control, control the clock. They're a well-coached team, and they go out and get the win. Even though it's at home, what are your thoughts on Michigan going in there?
Well, you did call it obviously Iowa's ranked higher, you called it an upset, but Iowa's only really played garbage teams.
Right. That's kind of why I said like question mark.
Yeah, I mean, it's technically an upset, but not really. I thought Michigan was the better team, regardless, home or away. Yeah. But I think, the offense we can go off all day about what that is, but the defense, what I really like, not just from like the play, I think their success with like all the sacks and the interceptions, I thought that was a lot of game planning by Don Brown. I think he did a good job with his blitz packages, where he'd have the entire line shift, and then you just have the middle linebacker blitz right through everyone. So the left side, the offensive line was guarding no one, and then you have two linebackers in the backfield. Right. But I thought what I really enjoyed watching when I was listening to the radio and watching it a little bit was that because Michigan obviously didn't do much on offense, but when they were stopped, when a turnover happened, Michigan's defense came up to play. That's what you didn't see against Wisconsin.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know Wisconsin was a way better team, but you saw Michigan. Okay, our offense really can't do anything over and over and over all game is. They came up to play. They responded. We're going to put the team on the back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I really enjoyed from seeing that. And the offense, I don't know what to say, because you have you have all the talent in the world to beat anyone on your schedule. But when you have Donovan Peoples-Jones,
here's that. And it's funny that you say that, all the talent in the world. What's funny is I read something where Michigan has not had a skill position player drafted in the first 3 rounds in like 15 years. Since Braylon Edwards. Yeah. How crazy is that for a second, right? How crazy is that the last skill position player like that is Braylon, right? Yeah. That goes to show you how really little development is actually happening on the offensive side. Mike, I want to ask you a question about Harbaugh's comment where he said the offense is quote-unquote hitting its stride. If you can believe that. After a 10-point performance, hitting our stride. What are your thoughts on that? Kyle, I think you make a great point where you go, there is talent, clearly. There is talent on this team offensively. But hitting a stride seems a bit much.
Well, when you actually watch it, they were moving the ball. They were spreading it out. They were doing what they were supposed to be doing. Right. They just couldn't finish. Yeah, absolutely. There was a play in the game, and I thought about you so hard because it was like 3rd and 4, and I think it was Ronnie Bell ran an out route for 3 yards and was short by a yard, and he came off the field, and the coach audibly said, "Go to the sticks. What are you doing?" And I just think about route every time we watch the Lions game. Goes, that route's not getting a first down. What are you guys doing? And that's the whole definition of the offense. Oh my God. Is they run these little slant, drag, deep posts or whatever. But when it's 3rd and 15 and they get 14, and you're just it's not there enough.
You're like, just run to the first down marker, then turn around.
Yeah.
It's like the little things where, and obviously, we're fans or whatever. But at the same time, you're like, think about it, right? Like, no, but coach has said 3. I'm like, okay, but maybe you run the extra yard and a half to make sure when you do catch this, it is a first down. Like, come on. It drives me absolutely insane.
There are just, like, moments like that where it was, like, 3rd and 1, and then they run the ball with, like, Charbonnet or whatever, or True Wilson, and you just kind of get stuffed up, or you get half a yard, 4th and inches, and then they punt it or whatever when you should be going for it or whatever.
Right.
And it's just like you were so close.
Right.
So like I could see where they're going with their offense, but you just didn't produce anything.
Are you guys happy with Shea's? I guess I'll ask you first, guy. Happy with Shea's performance yesterday?
I mean, like, I wouldn't say I was happy with it. They only got 100 and whatever some passing yards.
Yeah.
But when you're actually watching the game, like, I know that the offensive line isn't playing how they want to, but like no one's ever open. Like, if you watch it, the only pass completions they ever have are out routes and slants.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost the same thing. I know they had that 150-yarder, but that was just a toss up.
No, talk about that's like the definition is when they show cams of like the receivers running routes
and they're all covered
8 seconds into the route. And no one has any separation.
Right.
Like, I feel like when you play Madden and, like, you're, like, sitting there and you get sacked and you're like, well, there's no one to throw to. That's Shea Patterson's feeling. Right. And he just gets the shit out of him.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Because he's like, just throw the ball to somebody. Okay, I'll just throw a pick then. Like, what do you want me to do?
Right, absolutely.
So it's like, it's almost like a double-edged sword.
It's funny you say that, though, too, because it reminds me a lot of the Lions' offense from, like, a year ago. Not in the spread style, but the fact that it always felt like Stafford always had to throw the ball in a tight window. Nobody was ever just open. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, Galladay, he's not just open. Marvin just isn't like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm right here. Yeah. You know what I mean? There was never that scenario. So similar to, and I agree with you that I think no matter who's playing quarterback right now, and as we all know, I am not a Shea Patterson guy, but I agree with you when, there ain't no separation. Yeah. You're supposed to have Tariq Black and people
I would love to see that if someone like Tua Tagovailoa was at Michigan, it would change things. But I don't no one except like for guys like a Stafford who can just zip the ball into places.
Yeah, but even at the college level, you
can't really do that because receivers aren't as good. It's just like there's no fixing it unless you can design your plays to get people more open.
Right, and that's what needs to happen.
Really, but like that's all you can really do there.
Absolutely. We'll obviously monitor Michigan's situation coming up. I wish they were playing State earlier in the year like they normally do. It's like it's weird.
Playing them like end of November.
I know,
middle of November.
I know, it sucks. All right, let's talk about, speaking of Michigan State, though, let's talk about the Spartans. They lose, pretty big, I would say, to the Ohio State Buckeyes, right? I don't think anybody really thought they had a chance of winning this football game. They kept it close for the first quarter and a half or so. I think the defense did what it could. The offense is terrible, as always. So, but Kyle, I want to ask you thoughts on Michigan State's performance against Ohio State. Did you see more or less out of Ohio State more than anything else? Because obviously Michigan State coming in, no one really thought they had a chance. But this is Ohio State's real first, I would say, test ? So thoughts on what you saw out of that game?
I mean, it was expected, I guess. I guess if you want to say you got something out of it, you could say, you saw what Justin Fields could do against an elite defense. You could say I didn't watch a lot of it, but from what I did see, especially in the end, he can run on this good defense. He knows where to throw. He can read well.
For sure.
And Michigan State offense, obviously, it's not. I did see they were doubling Chase Young a lot, Ohio State's defensive end. They did a pretty good job on him. But other than that, they didn't really do much. But
it's tough. It's tough, man, because you're going to have to keep pace with the explosive offense like that, and I don't think they have the weapons. I don't think they have anything to compete with that. And your defense would have had to play so far above where it's played so far, it would have been really hard to contain that Ohio State offense. Mike, what'd you see either out of the Spartans or out of Ohio State? I mean, we watched the game together, so what'd you notice?
Yeah, I would say I saw the little bit of fight that State had.
Oh yeah.
Like knowing that they're like no chance at winning, they at least like
they gave them
they were the Division II school going against a Division I school. We're just gonna throw everything at the wall and hope something sticks.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Whereas we basically can't win, but we're just gonna throw everything and anything we have at you.
Everything unexpected, just to see if you pull off the upside.
They would do triple reverses, and they're pulling out everything in the playbook to be like, is there any way we can find a way to score? And there were a couple instances where you had a guy wide open and you just missed him, or you had this guy running up the sideline and he gets tackled short and they can't finish in the red zone or whatever. Right. I think State, could have at least made it a more competitive game, but lost those opportunities due to how good Ohio State is,
Right.
and a little bit of their own troubles. But I don't think Ohio State, per score wise,
Right.
didn't play as bad.
Yeah,
as
I don't think the score really is a reflection of how that game really went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's fair to go, oh, well, they blew them out 34-10. I'm like, it's a 34-10, should have been like a...
But it's a bleeding 34-10. It wasn't like, okay, they just scored.
Yeah, it's not like
it was a dogfight.
Yeah,
Okay, they just happened to score.
Yeah, it's not like 34-0, and then they took all their starters out, and then you scored 10 in garbage time.
Right, it was
like
3-0 after the first quarter.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, State, I think, really did come out, and they always play Ohio State tough. I don't know what it is about them. They just... D'Antonio, for whatever reason,
Coach just wants to step up in that game.
I guess it's weird.
Opposite of Michigan is going on.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yep, I can't wait for that week. That'll be fun. But yeah, I think they gave it what they could. Are you guys still pretty firm on Michigan beating Michigan State even after this week? You guys still?
I say since they have at home, I would give them the benefit of the doubt. But I'd say Notre Dame at home, no.
Yeah.
Penn State, even worse.
Yeah, it's gonna be a rough go. Mike?
I've always had Michigan winning. I don't know.
Yeah.
If Michigan scores like 13, I think they can win. So
if they play defense like that,
that's what I mean. Like, after
yeah.
what you can see against Iowa, they can do that against Michigan State.
Yeah.
10-13 is all you really need.
But Ian Book is a lot different than Nate Stanley too.
No, we're talking about.
I was talking about Michigan State. I don't think we're beating Notre Dame. You see what they played against Georgia?
Yeah.
They actually made a game against Georgia. Georgia's the third best team in the country, probably.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It'll be interesting for sure. I'm kind of in agreement with you. It's always fun to kind of check in and take the temperature of like the fan bases because Michigan fans like to give it to Michigan State. Like, oh man, where are you guys lost or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but it's gonna be just as bad when we play.
Well, who do you think's the best team in the country right now, Rob?
Best team in the country?
The whole country.
Oh boy.
Kyle, I'm gonna ask you after.
I'm gonna say Bama.
Okay, Kyle.
I'm gonna go with Ohio State.
I was gonna say Ohio State too.
Yeah, I need to see them against some other competition first before I can make.
I need to see Bama against a top 25 team first.
I'm in agreement with you, but Bama always comes to play.
That's what I mean.
It doesn't.
Like,
that's my tipping point.
Yeah,
that's where
I'm like, I saw Ohio State at least against like an elite defense of Michigan State. Alabama is playing their first 25 team. Next week, so I'm like, we'll see how that goes.
It'll be fun.
But,
It'll be fun for sure. I'm still waiting for Ohio State to blow it. They always do.
They always blow that one game.
Hey, Ryan Day
to give somebody else a shot. It'll be interesting to see when they play like Wisconsin or something like that. Obviously. All right, guys, that's going to be it for episode 45 of the I'm Always Right Sports Podcast. We're live every Monday on podcast form. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, I'm Always Right Sports Podcast on YouTube, as well as go to our website, fill out our contact form to become a part of the I'm Always Right Sports Podcast family. For the man, for the Merc Zone, I'm the Mouth of Michigan, and we will see you guys as always next time.